Well, hello, and welcome to the Brandon and Carlos Show, where we challenge you to think freely and for yourself. I'm here with my co-host, Carlos.
Yeah, what's up, everybody?
Today, our guest is Elder Lindsey Williams.
Yeah.
He comes to us from New York, New York.
New York, New York.
He is a gospel artist. The name of his group is called Divine Connection. Their latest work is a single called Let's Have Church.
It goes.
I'm talking about that junk is good. Welcome to the show, Lindsey.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Doing great, man. Thanks for accepting our invitation.
For real, for real.
No problem, man. No problem. Glad to be on.
Yes, sir. All right, we're gonna go ahead and get with it. So tell us, who is Elder Lindsey Williams?
Who is Elder Lindsey Williams? That's a good question. I am I'm just a saved young man. Well, I don't know if I'm young anymore. I am 41, about to be 42.
Wow.
But I enjoy doing the work of the Lord. I enjoy his ministry. I enjoy music. I enjoy preaching. And I'm just, trying to accomplish a few goals and do what I need to do while my time is here,
Yeah. That's what's up, man.
That's what's up. Go ahead, Tyler.
All right. So where did you get your start?
I got my musical start when I was a baby. My father pastored one of his previous pastorates was in Tucson, Arizona, actually where I was born. And my mom would sit me on the lap. She used to sit close to the front row. She's the first lady, of course. And they noticed that when the choir would sing, I would be tapping to the beat, on beat, with pencils and pens doing church. And I just was fascinated by the musicians and the instruments all the time. And by the time I became 3 or 4 years old, my dad moved to Tennessee, where he started pastoring. And that's when my musical gifts flourished. Being a drummer for the church officially at 5 years old, I had a little bitty small drum set. Only had a snare, a tom-tom, and a little cymbal, but I played for the choir for like two years with that. And then the church finally bought me. Well, not the church. My godmother, she took me in as a godson. She bought me a real drum set, and I was like this little 6-7-year-old boy on this real drum set. People couldn't really see me, but I could really play for some reason. So I had an awesome choir director. His name was Robert Elder. We had about maybe a 50-voice choir back then. We recorded records. My first live recording with the church choir was at 7 years old. And that don't mean I was great, but I played my little part, of course. And I had good leadership. I must say I had good leadership with Robert Elder being the choir director. Great choir. And I thought every choir sounded like that, but I knew it was something special about us. And then friend of mine, Elder Clesley Bryant Foster, my good friend, I call him JoJo. We met early age. My pops took him in as another son, and he was a drummer. And me and him used to battle it out every year at this concert on drums. Like, we used to go hard. And one year he came to this particular workshop concert, and he said, well, you probably can beat me on the drums, but you can't do this. And he just hopped on the keyboard and started playing a song by John P. Key, Jesus is Real. And my mouth dropped. Me and him was the same age. He's probably like 11 months older than me. And my mouth just dropped. And I was like, how'd you do that? He was like, I went on a fast for 2 weeks, and the Lord gave it to me. Like, he just started playing out of nowhere. So I was fascinated at 13 about playing the keyboard. And he helped me And next thing you know, we hired him at the church, and then he moved on, and I started playing for the church. And next thing you know, we moved here, and then my whole musical ear and everything just kind of opened up to a whole nother thing. So that's pretty much the whole beginning. Once I got here, I was exposed to gospel artists that I listened to actually on records. That's Kyle Walker, James Hall, people like that. These people's actually. Um, I'm not necessarily in New York. New York. New York is broken up into 5 boroughs, so I'm in Queens, but it's all one big thing, collaborate together. So I was able to go to Brooklyn um, to see some of the gospel artists. Timothy Wright at the time was still alive. This is a strong musical place, and if you're gonna be here, you got there's no excuse for anybody here. The amount of competition, amount of when I say competition, I'm not necessarily in a negative way, but it's just so many people doing music on a certain level because it's a big city. It just changed my whole approach to music because there's so many musicians that are good doing the same thing. And so that's it. New York changed me into a different animal. You got to be aggressive here. And but that's pretty much the beginning.
So tell us some of your influences. I know you named some, Hezzy, Timothy Wright, anybody who's anybody or anything, anybody who knows anything about gospel music knows that you just named like some of the generals. But what's some of your influences? Maybe that people don't know
Right.
about.
Playing the organ or as far as artistry?
Either or.
Well, the late Michael Joseph was a guy who, like I already mentioned, JoJo, my good friend. He was the one that really started me in this endeavor in music. But musician-wise, the late Michael Joseph, he was a legend in his own right. He was probably the most creative musician that was probably. He wasn't famous nationally. If YouTube and social media would have been out then, he definitely would have been famous nationally and probably worldwide. But this guy opened my creativity music-wise, and even to this day, he passed away maybe like 10, 11 years ago. Even to this day, it's things that I listen to that I just don't even understand. But he was a great influence musician-wise. Friend of mine who's very well known, him and another guy was around us a lot locally doing a lot of stuff, and they really changed the sound of music in our area. Corey Henry and Travis Sales, these guys were playing for different groups locally, and Corey is now all over the world. So is Travis playing for Chris Brown, different stuff like that. Those guys probably was influential in me wanting to be better. As far as artistry, I've always enjoyed Bishop Hezekiah Walker and Ricky Dillard. And even to today, one of my favorites is Kevin Lemons. These guys like that are keeping the choir sound alive. I don't dislike groups or I don't dislike praise and worship, but it's something about the choir sound. I enjoy intros and verses and vamps and bridge and stuff like that. Not just and everybody has their own take. I don't knock any genre of music. Some people are cool with the 4 chords, 4 words. 30 minutes. I think that's cool. But my mind, I get bored quick. So I need words. I need chord changes. I need So that's just me. So. But I don't knock, I don't think we should never compare or disregard any type of music that's giving praise to the Lord. But, me particularly, I do like choir music. That's what I grew up under. In the 80s, that's what it was anyway. I was born in 78. So by the time I started playing for the church, officially I was 5 years old. That was the 80s. You talk about Thomas Whitfield and, you know, Florida Mass, Jersey Mass, stuff like that. So, you know, for me, that's just really where my heart is, choir music. And I had a group. A lot of people don't know I had a group before there was Divine Connection. I actually had a choir before Divine Connection. A group before Divine Connection, and then a choir before the group. I had a group years ago called Christ Combined, and I had over 100 choir members. That was in like 1999, and I don't even think Brandon knows that. I've been knowing Brandon for a long time, but I don't know if Brandon knew I had a choir back then. I had like 100 choir members. That's when everybody had a big choir. And then later on, probably 2005 or 6, I had a group with a pastor friend of mine, Darius Nixon. We had a group that was pretty dope. And then Divine Connection just kind of evolved out of my church choir.
Okay.
So my church choir just kind of kept holding it down. And then that's it.
That's what's up. That's what's up. So tell us about your upbringing. You know, you stated something about starting off on the drums. I think every church musician starts off on the drums. Some of us either evolve or, you know, move on to other instruments. I happen to stay with the drums. You know, I started when I was 4, and I just stayed with it. I just, you know, I couldn't go anywhere else. I just loved it that much. But yeah, tell us about your upbringing.
Right. Drums. I mean, I played the drums until I met, like I said before, my friend JoJo, and I still played, but my interest kind of went to excel into the keyboard and organ. I was just fascinated that I had never seen nobody that young play during that time. What was that? Maybe 89, 90. I had never seen nobody that young in my city play like that. And so that's really how I evolved off the drums to, you know, to the organ, stuff like that, as far as my upbringing musically. But that's pretty much it. I mean, I still play. I have played recently, but I can't. I don't have any stamina at all. Like I couldn't play for a whole service to save my life. So it's a wrap.
Yeah, I feel you.
I can play. I mean, I played in choir rehearsal before, but maybe a song or two. But nah, it's a wrap. Nah.
Yeah, Brandon's back with us. How long have you and Brandon known each other?
I've known Brandon. I don't know. Maybe I met you when I was still living in Tennessee or New York?
You had just moved, I believe, to New York because my pastor at the time, Dr. Maddox, he introduced me to you because I was his minister in music. And he was like, him and your daddy are real good friends.
Okay.
And he was like, I want you to meet him because he kind of wanted you to mentor me. Yeah. And we came up there, I believe.
So that was probably like 90.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. Because remember when I
was probably like 97, 98.
Yeah, man. And I've been with Lindsey and I I change numbers so often. But I always get in contact with him and let him know if I move to a different city or something like that, and we'll, you know, chop it up. But Lindsey is a good friend of mine. Matter of fact, I respect him a lot. He has affected me musically, not necessarily from the standpoint of, you know, playing, because it's not all about playing. You know, mentorship comes in so many different forms, but he's taught me how to be a leader. That's the main thing, because I'm just a country boy and I can't play like Lindsey got that Butch Hayward type sound. But we had Lindsey.
I wish I did.
But listen, Lindsey used to have something called what was the name of the workshop thing you used to do? Rock Solid.
We still do it. Rock Solid, yeah, we still do it.
Rock Solid. We brought Rock Solid. I'm gonna let him tell it because it's his thing. But we brought Rock Solid down. Remember, Craig Wiggins was with you. Justin.
Yeah.
What was Justin's name? The drummer for Hezi.
Yeah.
And both of those guys are dead now. Rest in peace.
Yeah. So it is. Yeah. I brought a portion of Rock Solid music down to Tennessee. We wanted to implement the whole thing, but we was trying to just introduce it. It's so funny when y'all guys say Hezi. That is the funniest thing to me. But those two guys were a part of Love Fellowship Ministries with Bishop Walker, and they was key elements to that ministry, and they are both. Now that you said it, yeah, they are both passed away. And Rock Solid really was formed because I live in a community called Rockaway, and when I first did Rock Solid, I was just trying to bring my community together and do a workshop because I knew so many at that time. I had met so many influential people in the industry, and I was just trying to better my community as a whole. So we did a workshop at the church, and that particular year, Bishop Hezekiah Walker and I think Natalie Wilson was, I guess, clinicians. Mm-hmm. And we had, it was probably maybe 100 people to register. It was really good, a lot of information. And then we had other people come through and teach songs, stuff like that. So it just kind of evolved, and it was such a great success. It kind of evolved out of a Rockaway thing. I live in, Far Rockaway, New York, which is a part of Queens. But it kind of evolved out of a Rockaway thing to a thing, period. And we started traveling. We went to Tennessee. We've been in Knoxville. We've been in Chattanooga. We've been to Ohio. Yeah, we did that. We did Texas. We did several states. Had a good. That was when the economy was a little bit different, and it was a little easier to move a little bit then. And then that was during a time where workshops were more receptive. We live in an age now, people don't really think they need that much help like that. So YouTube and other things have kind of taken over instructions. People are kind of progressing without the whole, you don't really hear about a lot of workshops anymore like that. I mean, you still have your standards like gospel music workshop, but there used to be a time where people was calling in guest clinicians all the time to empower and stuff like that. But now it's a little different. And so we came up with Rock Solid because Craig, of course, had to work with many different professional gospel artists and secular artists. I myself have too, and me and Craig kind of came up with this together because some churches wasn't able to afford to bring in a top major artist. Mm-hmm. So what we did was, although we wasn't famous ourselves, we would come in and work with a particular group, church group or community or churches that came together. We would come in and pretty much work them to be more professional and more better at what they do. And it really jumped off because Craig was popular enough and talented enough to kind of be that symbol of a superstar, if you will. He was Love Fellowship's minister of music, choir director. He led the song I Got a Reason when Bishop Walker recorded it again with the church choir. So he was a familiar voice, although he never was able to record his own personal music. He was enough of an artist within his right, with his own right, to kind of suffice for, we can't get this one and that one. let's get Rock Solid in. And I had the band together. He did the vocals. And by the time we left that workshop, people felt like they just was professional themselves. So, it was working, And then after a while, like I said, my church choir really involved. And once Divine Connection came into play and the economy changed, Rock Solid really wasn't, we didn't do. And then Craig, he started doing more touring with his own thing. I started doing more stuff ministry. Well, I started preaching not too long after that, I believe. And then things just kind of changed. But so I still have the company. I still got a squad. I still got guys I work with now. So we've done a workshop recently. We've been in all over New York, state of New York, Albany. We still have a page. As a matter of fact, if you go on Facebook, you'll see Rock Solid Music. Rock Solid Music Workshop is actually the page name. And so you see pictures. Craig is on there. Different artists is on there. That we've been with different places. You see pictures and you see apparel that we have and footage and videos. And so yeah, man. So it's still a thing. We don't do it as much, but it's still a thing.
I hear you. One of our watchers, he posed, or he actually had a comment. Titus Robertson, he said, "Choir sound is true gospel. Tires of CCM. Gospel is our music, but unfortunately, it's losing its identity to CCM music, and the cause is due to people wanting to be popular and wanting to conform to radio, to sell records, and get opportunities. Radio has influenced the negative change in the culture of gospel music." How do you feel about that?
I know Titus. Is that Titus the producer? Is that Titus, my friend Titus?
Titus Robertson.
Huh?
Titus Robertson.
I would have to. Yeah, I know a Titus. I don't know if that's him, because I'm sure people got that name. But if it's the one I know, he's definitely I know a Titus that. Huh?
You talking about the one that played for James Fortune, ain't you?
He played for everybody.
Yeah.
He played for my friend Titus. Played for everybody. Kurt Carr, James Fortune. He is a musician of musicians. He's producer. He's actually. I don't know if that's the same guy.
I'm about to find out. But keep talking, buddy. But yeah, how do you feel about that, though?
Yeah, I think about praise and worship influencing the industry. Okay, I feel it definitely influenced the industry. It changed a lot. Choirs were definitely the dominant of gospel music, and I think promoters, and how can I say this? When I was traveling with Bishop Hezekiah Walker in Love Fellowship, I played for him for 5 years. We was actually getting on planes with 40 people. Like, people was actually paying for that many tickets at that time. We was getting on buses with 50, 60, 40 people. Traveling during that time was just different, and people would pay to see Bishop Hezekiah Walker and the choir, not just a few singers. They wanted the choir, and then some kind of way, promoters got smarter, and they was like, the whole choir don't matter. I call it the praise team syndrome. There was a girl that used to sing. I used to work with at the church years ago. She called me one day. She said, "I just want to let you know the Lord has spoke to me and elevated me." And I said, "Okay, what are you saying?" She said, "Well, I'm no longer. I feel like I'm no longer to sing with the choir, but the Lord has blessed me and elevated me. I only want to sing with the praise team." And her explanation to me, I asked her why her explanation to me didn't make sense. But since that conversation, I realized that people just want to be identified as an identity. It used to be a thing where long as I'm just singing for the Lord, I don't care who's singing. Now it's like if I ain't in the mic or I'm not on the front line or if I'm not, leading a song, then I can't do it. And that kind of crept into gospel music. I mean, it's easy to pay. I got almost 30 choir members, but it's easier to travel with 10, you know.
Right.
It's easy to travel with as less as possible. I mean, it's just like with musicians who use Logic, Pro Tools, and Ableton. You can go get a whole band, or you can get one guy
Right.
that work his stems on the computer and get a drummer,
Right.
and you can just save. I mean, a lot of churches now don't have no whole band. Most guys just got a keyboard player with a laptop and a drummer, and everything just because of technology and because of everything started to become visual instead of audio.
Right.
Audio. It used to be with CDs and tapes or whatever that when you would buy a CD on the cover, you would see the artist and the whole choir.
Right.
Now, you just see a personality. You just see the person. And so it just leaked over into the church. It leaked over into the industry. And it went from bringing the whole choir. Now nobody travels with a choir like that. I mean, Ricky Dillard does, Kevin Lemon, don't get me wrong, but a lot of the settings, because Ricky Dillard is like a staple in the industry. Definitely you want to see the whole choir. Even with Love Fellowship, you want to see the whole choir, but some promoters and some people just don't have the money to fly that many people in or bring in a bus for that many choir members. So sometimes you will see some of these artists who have big choirs, you see them on stage with a group of singers. And some of these record labels have, suggested or enforced some of these artists do they have choirs to sing more praise and worship music. And like I said before, I don't knock the praise and worship genre. I don't knock the songs. I'm not a praise and worship guy. If I sit down and play for a service right now, anything that's past 2001 or 2, I'm done. I don't even know it. Like I don't even know none of this stuff. I couldn't play none of this new stuff. Not that I couldn't play it. I could probably play it. I just don't care to learn it. You know what I'm saying? I don't learn nothing new. I ain't gonna lie to you. I haven't learned a new song in a long time. I don't really play the church like that anymore. I hired a guy who's really dope. He knows all that stuff, and I play the old stuff. But I don't really even care to learn it. I mean, for the most part, a lot of it kind of sounds the same, so I get confused anyway. So you learn one, I feel like you learn them all, but it's just not interesting to me. And like I said, that's not a bad thing. I have my own personal choice, And some of the songs are really good. We did a opening with Todd Delaney here, a good friend of mine, Stanley Brown. He had Todd Delaney come and do an album release, and we was on to open up. And people like Todd Delaney, he sings, he does it's not choir music, and I guess you would call it praise and worship. But some people like him really attack these songs a certain way. And if you hear his story, you'll see how genuine he is. That's why I said everything is a preference. I love, to me, he got a new album coming out. I don't know if y'all know, but he got a new album coming out, and this is I heard is really, really nice. He's definitely a hit maker, and he's very sincere. So that's what I think. My friend Rich Tolbert, he does praise and worship, and he's very sincere. So I think it's a blessing that we have different genres for everyone to appeal to their interests. But I do feel like the industry has persuaded everyone to do praise and worship, and I just kind of feel like when you wipe out a whole group of things for one thing, it does dilute. And it doesn't mean that praise and worship is diluted. It just means that the gospel genre period has diluted, and it has become more of a simple, more than artistic or complex. I think if you have an interest in a person like a James Hall and you want to hear 1,000 chords in one song, you should be able to hear that. You know what I'm saying? interest in a Tasha Cobbs and you want to hear 2 or 3 closing songs, I think you should be able to hear that. I don't think the industry should have did what they did, but I think it was more economics than spiritual or musical. To be honest with you, that's what I think. That's just my opinion.
So how? Okay, let me pose this question: what do you think needs to be done to get the choir music back, back to where it once was, or can it even get back to where it once was? I know people are starting to gravitate toward it more. I'm from Indianapolis, and they're trying to wake up, that sound again, with some of the choirs that's coming out of there right now. But how do you feel like we can get that back on course, or can we?
I don't think it never left. I think the industry doesn't persuade what the sanctuary does. I think it has an influence, but I don't think it has fully persuaded. Most of these churches can't sing or play half the stuff that's being produced by the industry anyway. Even if it is simple, it's not the same. Most churches still have a choir. Most standard churches, most traditional churches, maybe some of your newer churches that are opening up have a praise team, and they're kind of duplicating the top 10. But you still have a number of churches that have choirs, and these choirs are singing the songs of the 90s, the 80s, and the 70s. And Bishop Walker has made it through the times. Ricky Dillard, these are not new artists. These guys have been in the game for 30 years.
Yeah.
They're still there. Timothy Wright has passed away, but his son, Davy Wright, is still carrying the torch with New York Fellowship. Choir music. I mean, you got Kevin Lemons now. You got Vincent Bohannon. You got Patrick Riddick. You got choirs. Dexter Williams. You got Malcolm Williams. You got, the list goes on and on. You still got choirs. And if you go to GMWA every year, there's still chapter choirs in every city that most people never heard. So I don't think it went anywhere. I think the industry and the commercialism and maybe the Grammys and the Stellas have maybe put highlights on it with the lights, smoke, and cameras and action and all that. But y'all church got a choir, you know what I'm saying? And right. I'm sure that if we testify, most churches still have a choir and they do choir music. My church has a senior choir, we got a young adult choir, we got a children's choir, and it hasn't went anywhere. I just think that economically it's not always feasible, for people to travel with big choirs. But I think choir music is still very essential to what we're doing, regardless if the industry pushes it or not.
Tell us about some of your overseas work. You went out of the country a few times, I remember.
Yeah, I've been out of the country on tour with several gospel groups. Craig Wiggins, in particular, as we mentioned earlier, I toured with his gospel group that he had, and another guy, Greg Kelly, had a gospel group, Gospel New York, the very best of black gospel, something like that. Did that, and then I've been out of the country, of course, like I mentioned before, with Bishop Hezekiah Walker. Different, pretty much almost every continent on the world, if not all of them, most of them, with Bishop Walker. Bishop Walker is actually a global artist, and we've been all over. I've been all over the world traveling with him and his ministry. London, Japan, Jamaica Islands. We've been different places, and then with the tours I was doing, I was all over Europe and stuff like that. So, been a lot of places, not as my own artist, but working with other artists.
Yeah, because I remember I used to try to reach you, and your phone wouldn't work because you was out of the country. That was back when them phones wouldn't work out of the country.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So
yeah.
Let's talk about the coronavirus. I wanted to kind of talk about your music first, because these last few months have been kind of depressing. And I wanted to give our viewers and our listening audience something positive. We're going to talk about the coronavirus,
Right.
and but I want you to go ahead and prepare your thoughts for that while I say this. Lindsey Williams, and I'm sorry, I mean no disrespect. This is my god brother, so I call him Lindsey, but he is a preacher. He's Elder Lindsey Williams, the son of the great J.D. Williams, who says you about to listen to some good preachment for the day. I love to hear your daddy preach. He uses some words. I remember him and when Maddox, and I remember our good friend Tommy Mims, who has passed on. God rest his soul.
Yeah.
Bentley Thomas, who's the from the Virgin Islands.
Yeah.
He would come over, and I remember one morning he used to take all these vitamins, and I'm like, why is this dude? He took like over 100 vitamins, and he was like, Brandon, you need to take some of this. It'll make you live longer. And so, you know, Lindsey and I, we go back a long ways. I love him, you know, with a brotherly love, and he has always been there for me, always. But I said all that to say this. He has released a new work called Let's Have Church. I placed in the comments on Facebook where you can go and buy it. It ain't nothing but 99 cents. Go buy it. If you like churchy music, choir music, it gets real nasty. And I say that in a good way. It is a good song.
It's that New York sound.
What I love about Lindsey, and I ain't been doing that much talking because I've been doing the technical side over here, but I got to do some talking about this music because Lindsey produces music that you can sing in your local congregation. All of this music that's out, I mean, I'm not knocking it at all, but a lot of it, as he alluded to, you can't even play, you know, because it's very intricate and complex. And this, and when I'm saying this, I'm not taking away from Lindsey's music because it's complex too, but it is playable. Okay, it's playable. If you want your sopranos to squall, listen, I'm from the South, and I've been trying to get my sopranos to squall like New York sopranos forever, and it just ain't happening. I guess y'all eating some KFC or something here because y'all got some squallers. But I'm very proud of this brother because he is the epitome of, because he's from the South. He came from the South and went up north, and he became very successful. But go by that ain't the only music that he has. I know I keep saying ain't. I got a degree and I'm up here saying ain't, but it's just friends. But he has other music out as well. He has another single called I Belong to God. It's a real hot track. Go to his
I Belong to You.
Yeah, thank you. I Belong to You. My bad. Go to YouTube and put in Lindsey Williams and Divine Connection, and you will find out how popular this group is and how hot they are, because he has hundreds of thousands of views. And you know, don't take my word for it. Do it. When this coronavirus is over with, if you need help bringing him and his team, get at me. Okay, I will get you in contact with him, and he will bring his crew down. Your choir ministry will never be the same. They just won't. And he teaches you, as he said, how to be an artist in your own right. So every choir desire is not necessarily to be an artist, but you will present yourself with a more excellent ministry by bringing his group down. Now, with all that being said, I'm really thinking about bringing him and a lot of cats down here. They love Glenn Gibson. And your drummer, who's your drummer right now?
Will Davis travels with me. Isaiah Johnson travels with me. Travis Davis, Shawan. I mean, we have, it's a lot going on up here, honestly. So some of my guys play for different artists and tour and stuff like that too. So we have, you know, I don't have a particular drummer, but we was about to do a live recording, and you know, we was gonna use Will. But if you go to my website, I have a website, www.jlindsey.Williams.
Okay.
And you see everything on there, from the preaching to rock solid music workshop Divine Connection. I Belong to You is on all digital networks. Let's
Say it
Have Church is
again.
on all digital work networks.
Say the website again, Lindsey.
Huh?
Say the website again.
www.jlindseywilliams.com.
Okay. We're putting it in the comments. Sorry to interrupt you, but we're putting it in the comments. You can just click on it right there, y'all. But keep on going. I'm sorry to interrupt you, buddy.
Yeah, if you go on the website, www.jlindseywilliams, you'll see all the information. We have t-shirts, we got music, the preaching, the workshop, like I said, pictures of some of our histories on there, bios and stuff like that. So there's a lot on there that you can kind of see. Also, there's a lot of stuff on YouTube too, but also we was planning to have our first live recording in Chattanooga, Tennessee next month. But due to the stuff going on with coronavirus and they just had a tornado. Please pray for those people in Chattanooga.
Yes.
They had a major tornado in Chattanooga early this week. And so I talk to my friends down there every day. Some of them are still without power. We've been through that. We had Hurricane Sandy, so I know exactly what they're going through. But on top of a pandemic, to have a tornado hit like that, that's really, really, really bad. So, please pray for them. But yeah, if you can support the music, I appreciate all of you all who have. We've been on a lot of radio stations, stuff like that. So we have a lot of music coming. A lot. God is blessed. So yeah, definitely check out the website and support. And I appreciate, and I think I just want to say this before we go into coronavirus. I do appreciate you guys even doing this time, because people need to still be informed and be uplifted at the same time.
Yes, sir.
It's good to, and I do appreciate the opportunity of being on.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, buddy. So talking about the coronavirus, what in the world went through your mind when you first heard of it? Like, what was you thinking? Can you remember?
To be honest with you, I'm so this may not be good, but I'm so driven on what I need to do. Anything that comes my way that poses a threat to what I'm doing, I don't really pay it no mind. Like, I try not to engage in anything that's going to stop me from doing what I need to do. So when I first heard about it, I was like, it ain't nothing. They just trying to, because there's a post, I don't know if y'all saw it, but since 2000, it's always been something. I think at one time they were talking about the now flu thing that was traveling by bees or flies or something. We had, what else? We had Ebola.
Yeah.
We had
swine flu.
You name it. Like every 2 years is swine flu. Every 2 years it's been something. So in my mind, I'm like, oh, this is just another, thing to kind of, distract us yet again. So, I got my recording coming up. I got this and that coming up. I got revivals coming up. I'm supposed to preach. I got this and that. So I'm like, long it ain't gonna stop nothing I'm doing. And then my next thing was, I don't know nobody who's passed away from it. It can't be that serious.
Right.
And then, like, within a matter of days, people up here started dropping like flies, because March is a heavy month for can you hear me? I think the screen froze up.
Yeah, okay. No, you're fine. I'm just switching the camera view around.
Okay. March is a heavy month for church. Church of God in Christ have their workers meeting during the month of March. A lot of Baptist people have their beginning of the year conferences, certain things with association stuff. Even in the Pentecostal church, a lot of people start doing stuff in March, because a lot of people take breaks after Christmas, let January go by, and they start planning February. And March is a heavy month. So during this time where people started going to church kind of heavily is when the virus started spreading. And to be honest with you, man, it just started hitting up, because in New York, everything is crowded. A lot of people on top of each other. Buildings are right next to each other. There's always crowds everywhere. Everything is packed. Everything is full of people. So, of course, we got hit the hardest. If you ever been to Manhattan, any time of the day, I don't care if it's in the morning, afternoon, night, evening, early morning. It's people everywhere. So, of course, it just started spreading like crazy. And next thing you know, I'm looking on Facebook, and every 5 minutes, somebody's dying.
Right.
And that's when it hit me like, yo, because they started saying, okay, there's no more school. Once they took off, once the basketball season ended and hockey ended, I said, oh no, this is for real.
Yeah. Definitely.
I said, now when they start closing down arenas, we definitely in trouble. I mean, they had WrestleMania a couple weeks ago with nobody in the audience. That was terrible. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, so there's no sports. And so this thing ain't no joke. So I mean, whenever like here, I'm not looking at the numbers right now, but I know it's way up there as far as the numbers in New York. I think we have exceeded New York has exceeded countries in the world with deaths. I don't know if y'all can pull it up.
Yeah, I'm about to right now.
Yeah, but we got hit hard, especially in the church community and just any community, because people here are so tough. So, I mean, I say that to say this. What was once taken lightly, people need to definitely take it for it. And just because your city is not packed out like ours, you know, you may live in a smaller city and people may take it lightly. Please tell everyone you know, even down there in Florida.
Yeah.
Your statistics can become the same as ours if people don't comply to the rules. It don't just hit. It don't have no name on it. You know what I'm saying? Like there's not a specific race or age. It's whatever this thing is. It can be deadly if you already have health complications. So I'm not saying people stay in the house and don't go nowhere. Never. If you got to get food, you got to get food. If you got to take a drive, you got to take a drive. But you cannot be up under people like that. They open up beaches and stuff soon. They're trying to open up the beach. They're trying to do this and that. Like, that's very dangerous because you don't know. They haven't found a vaccine for this. And people still haven't got tested who really have it.
Right.
And just because I have it don't mean I have all the symptoms that someone else have. And I may have it and could be walking around, and because of my body or my immune system or the strand that I have, I could be walking around like everything's okay. And I could give it to someone who has, you know, health issues, and they could be in the hospital for 3-4 days and die. You know, they don't have no explanation for this thing. So people really need to take it seriously. You know, I'm coming from the worst place, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, I don't know. It's really bad.
The deaths in New York City to date, 8,893.
Now, on the flip side of that, 18,000 have recovered, but both sides are still high.
Forget the recovery.
Right.
Listen to the deaths again. Let me say it. Let me pause. Let there be silence. Listen. 8,893 people have died in New York City. That's a lot of people.
It is.
And I say that and I stress that point because there was a video that went viral down here. They had an Easter party or a block party or something like that. The people who did it had good intentions. You know, they wanted to give the kids something to do for Easter, blase, blase. But it went viral. You saw them. They didn't have masks on. It made the black community look like we just don't have any kind of sense. But I wanted to quote the deaths in New York because Lindsey lives in New York. He is with us on the show today from New York. I don't know if he's by a tree or by a pond or what, but he's in New York right now. And I want y'all to listen to him. He is experiencing the coronavirus because every Sunday when he and I talked, he told me it seems like preachers are dying on Sunday. When it gets close to you, it makes you want to wake up. So for the next few moments, Lindsey, if you could just plead to uh, our people. When I say our people, I mean Black folks, to take this thing seriously. You know, Carlos and I, we do this show weekly because we're trying to bring some entertainment, some information during this time from our perspective.
Right.
But he's the only person I'm around weekly. You know, if we got it together. And I'm sorry, but you know, that's just the way it is. We still got to do the show. But please give a plea for us, Elder Williams.
I say this. I thought the death toll was actually higher than that. To be honest with you, I know the cases in New York, I thought was a little higher than that too. I know there's a lot of people, like you said before, recovering and stuff like that. But the fact that if it's 8,000 or more, whatever, that's a lot of people.
That's a lot.
Just because we have a whole lot of people here, and that number is high, doesn't mean that if you don't have that many people that those numbers can't get high. That's a lot of people compared to the ratio that we have or whatever. But if you got 1,000 people in a city and 100 people die, that's 10%. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, it may 10 people may not be compared to 8,000, but 10 people is a lot of people that don't have to die if people follow the rules. You know,
Right.
whether it's 10, whether it's 20, and we have lost a lot of people, man. And it ain't so much that some of these people wasn't complying to the rules. Sometimes it ain't you. Sometimes it's other people, you know, and you just got to be careful where you go. And I definitely would, if I could send a message out to those in Florida and surrounding areas who may not gotten hit as hard as us, don't be one of the ones that's going to the funeral home with someone that didn't, you know, like, don't put your family through that. There's a lot of people here that's going to funerals, and we can't even have full funerals. There's churches that's losing pastors daily. I mean, when we go back to church, there's about 50 churches up here that won't have a pastor. And you can't have a proper funeral for your loved one. It's only 10 people that could be in the funeral home. You can't, you know, it's a lot on top of a lot. And I guess people don't really, some of us, and then Black people, I don't know if y'all know about this, but Diddy did a show on YouTube called Revolt.
Yeah.
And I don't know if y'all saw it, but I saw some of it. But the numbers in every state, whatever percentage the numbers is, the highest percentage of those numbers is Black people.
Yeah.
And we the ones ain't listening. You know, the corona virus is not a racist virus, but we are the ones outside partying. We the ones still trying to have church, and we getting hit the hardest with this thing because everybody's not listening until a whole segment of their family or community pass. Then everybody, you know, so that's what I'm saying. Don't wait till that happens. You know, follow the rules. You know, I know it ain't easy. I'm in my car right now because I'm about to head out get some food. I got to eat, but I'm going back in the house after that. I ain't gonna be, you know, and then, you know, I got, so people know, they may say, well, where his mask at? You know, when I get out the car, I got my mask right here.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a mask, you know, you can use a do-rag, you know, put that over your face, you know, do something. Just be safe. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to, you know, walk around with a mask, but cover your face up. Get a scarf. Wrap your whole face up if you need to. I mean, just do something if you got to be out, and then go back inside and stay inside as much as you possibly can. But you know, it is deadly, and Black people aren't exempt, and church people ain't exempt. Even in the Bible, when the death angel came for the last plague, to kill off the firstborn, if you didn't put that blood over your doorpost, you was about to get hit. Yeah. You know, it ain't no exemption. So, you know, we have to be very careful and prayerful, man. And, you know, if you know people that's saying, oh, it ain't nothing, it will be something, you know, when you it's a lot of sad stories out there. So, you know.
Right.
Definitely people need to comply. And I don't know
How
about them
has
beaches open up. I know they want to make money at the beach, but that's crazy.
how has the virus affected you and your family?
Um, well, thank God no one in my family has called it. If anything, it's just boredom. It ain't much to do. This is a city where there's always something to do. I mean, we can still eat. You just can't eat in. You got to take out.
Mm.
There's a lot of people out driving than it used to be. Some people here just tired. Just kind of. So sometimes people just see people just driving, but it's really not too much to do. Maybe visit somebody in your family. But to see this city shut down like this, man, is amazing, man. I've never seen New York look like this. Um, there's usually people everywhere, malls, Manhattan, parks. Um, but this city has really shut down, and there's, for good reasons, because you're trying to, our mayor and our governor is really trying to make it safe. But people are kind of getting a little tired, I will say. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Hopefully, people in Florida will catch it, not catch Corona, but catch the lesson. Catch the warning. Stay inside.
Right.
Right.
And the most important thing,
Wash them hands.
wash them hands. Well,
Yeah.
Lindsey,
Wash your hands and get a mask. I think they are encouraging people to get a mask too. I know it's not comfortable, but they are encouraging people if you got to be out. Once you, and I believe, honestly, I think it's more than just person to person. I do believe it's something in the air too. Seriously.
yeah,
Something ain't right.
right, right.
You know.
Well, brother, thank you so much for
Man, we appreciate
being
it.
on the show. This has been a very informative show. Thank you so much for taking the time out to be on the show. And I promise you, we're gonna get you down here. If it is not me, somebody gonna bring you down here. I'm gonna make sure of it. Because I love you, man, and I
Problem.
love what you're doing. And so we just wanted to really give you a spot at the beginning of the show so that they can know about your music.
Right.
I know people know about your music up there, but I want to give people on the dusty shores of Pensacola a chance to hear some different music.
Definitely.
And so we're going to do that.
I
Maybe
appreciate that.
I like how Vincent Bohannon is doing those watch parties. You know what I'm talking about, where they premiering videos and stuff like that. I might do something like that and just showcase your music, because I really want people to know about your music. I tell people you're my brother all the time. We got the same last name and we both light skinned, so I can get away with that lie. And plus we're close. But do you have any final words? No matter what it is, it doesn't have to be about the coronavirus. I mean, because coronavirus is a dark cloud. It can be positive no matter what it is. You giving our benediction. You're a preacher. What are the final words that you have for us today?
Well, hold tight, real quick. Real quick for our listening audience. One of our upcoming shows, we are going to talk exclusively about music, whether it be secular or gospel. We are going to dedicate a whole show to music. Lindsey, man, we would love to have you on as one of our people we talk to and have this conversation about. We're going to talk about the industry. We're just going to talk about and just chop it up about music. So I want to personally invite you, man. We're going to let you know the exact date when we're going to do that show. But I would like to personally invite you to be on.
No doubt. I'll do it. I'll be glad to do it.
We appreciate that. So to our listeners, we'll be letting you know when that show is coming. Go ahead and give our benediction, Doc.
Well, I say this to everyone. If I had to wrap this whole thing up, I would definitely say that in bad times, try to be as positive as possible. This should show us a lot. Things that were minute. Anybody that got beef, Anybody got issues with someone that's minute? Somebody stepped on your toe in 1996. It's time to let it go. This is the time to try to rekindle relationships with families. This is a time for the Christians, this is a time to diligently, faithfully work in your church ministry when we get back in. I think people should use this time as self-evaluation, self-reevaluation rather, and just kind of take a day by day to, I would say, to be. This is a good time for us to sit at home and think about what we can do when we get back to make a change. It definitely shouldn't be business as usual. I mean, and I appreciate you guys for going strong doing this, because a lot of people have kind of slacked in this time, but you guys are working, you out there, and you still trying to get people informed, and that's really what it's all about. When this is over, I encourage people. The world today is divided because people just don't listen to each other. If we would learn to stop responding in action or to react instead of responding to understand, there's a difference. If you're just talking your point of view and I'm talking my point of view, there's no understanding. It's just a battle of words. And in this season, I really pray that people learn to, even if you don't agree with me, try to understand what I'm saying. Shut up and let me talk. And if you don't agree with what I'm saying, at least understand what I'm saying, because you may even agree if you understand it. You ain't gonna never agree if you just replying.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I've been trying to spread, even to my choir members, I got to Zoom with them pretty soon. And we got some, my choir ain't perfect. We just like everybody else. We got some people that got some issues.
Yeah.
But some stuff just ain't worth it, man. People are dying. I think God has given us a restart. If we make it, if this ain't the end of the world, if this thing does pass, it could be looked upon as a restart. You know what I'm saying? So some things you wronged anybody. So, I just think we can make the world a better place now. And, things like that. But if that was the final say, I guess that's what I would leave people with. Try to be positive. I do appreciate you guys promoting the music, what I do. I'm looking forward to coming down there. Brandon been trying to book me and my group for 10 years, but I believe it's gonna happen after Corona. I think we're gonna finally get it done.
Yeah.
Brandon been trying to get me to Tennessee, to South Carolina, wherever he done moved to. Everywhere he go, he trying to get me. I ain't got there yet, but I know it's gonna happen because he's been trying. So we're gonna have it.
Yes, sir. Well, that wraps it up for the Brandon and Carlos show. Thank you all for listening and watching. We're not going to do an audio podcast today. We're just going to allow this to be our show for today. We're going to take a break from that. But please share this video. It's recorded, so you can always come back to the page. Share it. We appreciate it. We are trying our best to do some things to bring awareness to our people and to the world. We're going to do all kind of stuff. We're going to talk about technology. We're going to talk about these new iPhones and, coach cases and iPads. And we also going to talk about societal issues, social injustices. We're going to talk about current events. Right. We're going to talk about the music industry, right. All kind of things. So please share. Our podcast is available all over the world. We are on all major distribution platforms. You can just Google us. I remember there was a time where I used to lie and say, just Google me and wouldn't nothing pop up but Facebook. But now, baby, you can Google the Brandon and Carlos show and find out we all over the world. We got people listening from the Netherlands, right? So that is it for today. We also pop in from time to time and do the Brandon and Carlos show behind the scenes live. And basically, that's just Carlos and I, going out and just acting a plum fool together. It's very entertaining. So please go like the page. I don't know how you're viewing, but however you are viewing, go to the page, the Brandon and Carlos show. Hit that like button, and you will also hit follow. We have a YouTube channel, the Brandon and Carlos show. You're going to get tired of the Brandon and Carlos show. Nice. We're going to have merchandise, coffee mugs, pens, baby diapers. Well, probably not baby number, but we're gonna have everything. But that wraps it up for the Brandon and Carlos show. Again, my brother, thank you, Elder Lindsey Williams.
Hey, go check out his single.
Go check out
Let's
his
have
single.
church.
Let's have
Go
church.
check out his website, www.jlindsey.
Both of them.
Both of them.
Yes, sir.
And remember, wash them hands.
Yeah.